the first 10 minutes, when we saw that breach with the Lancers, the place where VortiX dove into the primary TC and shut down Beasty's economy. Beasty was crippled by that. After that point, this game never looked even, and I feel like Beasty was forced to make these weird kind of gamble plays on the keeps just to try and claw this one back.
Ooh, but a good way to crawl this one back is if you play against the civilization that you feel might be the worst because you didn't even draft it. The only civilization that you felt is not worth playing, English, and you see it in the hands of your opponent. Beastyqt has to be happy with getting China against English.
Yeah, especially if VortiX comes out ahead of this as well, like the confidence factor for him, because it would be the case that when you look at the Civ choices, that's the only different one, right? So you would have beat your opponent with the one Civ he thought was worth getting, and then your one that you only got would beat him as well. But on this map, like I think it comes a little bit down to generation. I feel like I say that a lot, but Altai really is when you're talking about these tempo Civs, especially the English, you're looking for a generation where your opponent gets pushed close to the Stone Mountain, which I feel like only happens 20% of the time these days. And then you also, weirdly enough, compared to other Civs where you want your opponent to have one wood line, you actually want them to have two, and you want them to be on each side of the base. Because then you can set up a prison, essentially, with like 3 outposts. And that's what you want is like with the English. Right now, I've noticed a switch where a lot of English players will try to just stack outposts on top of each other similar to a Mongol player so that they can safely deposit a lot of their lombos. So even if they get raided by counter, a lot of their units will survive until reinforcements come.
Yeah, that's the map generation. If Chinese can buy themselves time and not take any damage till mid-castle age, I think it will be really tricky for English. Unless we go like to this 40-minute plus where enclosures is paying off, that English is getting gold using their farms. I think like minute 20 till minute 40, English is really struggling. And this is where Chinese are trying to make something happen because their siege is so much better. And English, they're lacking some oomph in Castle Age.
Yeah, and we've seen people try to adjust to that, right? Multi-TCs, Abbey of Kings into instant Castle Age rush. Some people even trying to enclose themselves and go for Imperial, hoping that'll save them. But it's not really been paying dividends. In fact, if you were to look at the stats, like everything supports the English need a buff. Like in the highest level of gameplay, they have a 38.5% win rate. It's the worst of any Civ. Everyone else is closer to 50%, with HRE the next lowest at 46%. So something's got to give, something's got to change. Like,
yeah, I would really like to know their win rate in under 20-minute games, though, because it feels like their early game is okay, but then like the mid-game transition isn't pretty. I, for example, suggested that the town center landmark also has an influence with farms that generate gold. Idea.
That's interesting. That could be a difference maker. I think, like, one thing for me, I was kind of curious to see if they made the Abbey of Kings different. Like, you'd almost Age of Mythology up, but if it was, like, an activatable ability, you target somewhere like a campfire, and any unit that's not under attack for several seconds got healed. Because the issue with, like, Abbey of Kings is you can't logically use it because you have to run your units all the way back to base. It's counterintuitive. It's not like Chivalry, which is not even a landmark choice. You just buy it, and your knights heal on the go. So, like, I think that's one of the big issues is, like, you don't have flexi choice. If you want to heal units in the field, the only one you can do it with is Lombos. And it means that even when people don't use Council Hall, we're seeing them build a Council Hall, right? Just so they have the versatility. Because that's what English is lacking. They don't have any diversification in their builds. And that's an issue. When you get figured out, when the build has been perfected, unless you try for some really oddball strategy, which might just work because your opponent's not paying attention, it's not going to be optimal. Because I think even when we think back to the qualifier for this, after the weekend finished, the win rate for English amongst the players below, say, the top, 40, based on ranks and then like Beasty and whatever, it was even lower. I think in that qualifier, the win rate for English was 20%, around that number.
Wow, that's crazy low. Also, like, I looked up the stats once of the pick rates. I think below 900, the pick rate of English is like 26%.
Yeah.
And above 1600, the pick rate is like 11% for English.
Yeah, because it's a user-friendly, it's a newbie-friendly Civ. But you know what? VortiX is not a noob. It's going to show us the way. Maybe the English can chip their way through to a new meta, and VortiX can get 2-0 up. But it's going to be hard fought for here in game number 2 in Altai as Beastyqt manages the Chinese, and VortiX will pick the underwhelming English.
Well, let's see how underwhelming they are, right? They are really solid on this map. Because, as we mentioned multiple times, English lacking mobility, but on a map where mobility isn't that important because you can wall off sides so easily, we feel like English just gets 2 outposts in the center, and you can pressure Chinese quite well.
And there's 2 approaches to the early aggression if you play that strategy as English. So one is the good old classic ram rush, right? That's kind of fallen off in popularity as time's gone on because honestly, it's so one-dimensional and obvious. It's like playing poker with your whole hand face up. The other way, which is a little bit less all-in and gives you flexibility, is the outposting closing, where you surround your opponent's base, but that's usually reliant on the generation of resources, so you can optimize where you place outposts. Because the issue with the English is if you have to raid around the sides with lombos, you need to establish a network of castle, like the network of outposts, rather, because unlike the knights that can raid all around a base, if you run lombos to the other side of your opponent's base, i.e. the further away side from your own military lines, you can be flanked. You can't run away. You can't get out because you're using a 1.12 movement speed unit. So horsemen will just gut you. Counter archers will gut you. It's why a lot more of the English players right now have been leveraging like 2 or 3 outposts on one side of their opponent's base and then pushing him from there.
I like that. I like that. And then the one push, maybe get some rams in. That's an interesting farm. That is in range.
Just about.
Wow.
Okay. But that means the mill's inefficient, right? Because now like the mill is too close to place multiple farms and yeah. So you're losing efficiency with this,
what
right?
is can you still squeeze in a farm there between the town center and the mill?
No, but you can between the lumber camp. I think he might have lost efficiency of 1 farm with this layout.
This looks planned, but this looks so ugly.
I think it's going to get uglier because now to min-max the remainder, does he not put 4 along the top, which means he'd have a gap on the sides? Right, along the fully like non-done side, right? So like the northwestern side. So you should have these 2 farms and then 1 extra gap to spread out 4 farms instead of 3. Yeah, this is... I don't know. Maybe, folks, maybe we'll get to this. There'll be a second mill set up, and when we zoom out on the map, VortiX would have drawn a penis. Because I feel like that's where we're heading right now. It's a really weird formation.
I'm confused. It looks genius and stupid at the same time. But since I see VortiX as a player name, I will rather go with genius.
So let me explain it. So the way it works is like a penis has like the shaft shape, but you have the balls at the bottom. So he's got the balls right now. Oh, sorry, you meant the strategy. Okay, let's focus on the strategy because like in theory, a lot of his farms are now manned right next to his TCs, so he can garrison them instantly and they should be protected. That's the only thing I can think though. Like you're still trying to work it out, right? Like VortiX, you're like this guy is too good to have made a mistake. Like there has to be something
No.
else.
It's clearly not a mistake. No. This looks way too planned. I like that. I like it. I'm not sure if it's more efficient because you can fit 8 proper farms around, right? Maybe those first 4 ones are a bit more efficient.
Yeah, that's what maybe I'm thinking here is like because the corners have to run longer than the TC. Like this might be one of those so big brain plays that like my brain can't comprehend. VortiX, he knows more than we do, obviously, and he's probably just showing that. But Beastyqt, because he's up against the English, he doesn't want to be a greedy boy. We'll get that bargain to some first. And this is good denial. Remember what I was saying about the English and their ability to raid? They want to take the shortest route in, and Beastyqt just got rid of that.
Why not wall the bottom then? As well. Maybe you only need to wall it once the opponent is feudal age.
Yes.
But that's a 1 villager barbican as well. Something we don't see too often. BC is just fine with playing long game.
Yeah, I think he's actually got this perfectly prepped. Like his generation allows for what comes next. Like you say, he can naturally just wall between the 2 tree lines. It's actually, honestly, I think like that simple solution is like a prime example of how you can easily ruin English's long-term early game plans, right? Like. Because they're such a slow raiding unit, they rely on their ability to quickly move from one side of your base to the other. If you just put a tiny wall between 2 tree lines to double the walk distance, all of a sudden, the rush of English is not so effective anymore.
Okay, well, it's the big question if we even see the full rush, right? VortiX, he still stays on gold, so maybe wants to go for some more upgrades. Now we see Beastyqt transitioning onto stone and goes for Song Dynasty. Imperial Academy there, second town center, likely to fly in pretty soon as well. And boom, should be solid. I think Beastyqt, Song Dynasty, and starting his second town center around like 620. That's a pretty good build-up.
Yeah, he actually has a fantastic base for what he wants to do. Like, we talked about the whole fact that he wants to, like, if VortiX wants to raid his opponent, he wants these 2 wood lines on both sides, which he didn't get. Beastyqt has a phenomenal defensive location. You mentioned the wall between the 2 tree lines first of all, but also if you have a look, there's something more detrimental to VortiX's raiding, and it's to the southeast of that second wood line. It's the fact that the wood line crawls around. It creates a natural defense on the southern wood. So it means that actually, if he walls that side, you have to run a long way around, and you can see he's walling down there as well. So Beastyqt's achieved a full enclosure, and it means that this greed shouldn't be punished. However, he may have been a bit too greedy here, because he didn't wall the center first.
Yeah, the attack is still happening, no? And now he builds the town center next or behind his Barbican. He's not protecting this area at all. And then all this walling was for nothing.
I think the reason he's doing this is because he has Horsemen, right? So he just wants to bait VortiX into playing Feudal, and he's already prepping the counter. And because the Chinese have a very efficient early game economy due to supervising producing 20% more resources on drop-offs, he's able to afford Horsemen. This is one of the phenomenal things about the Chinese. Not only could they turn a building into a 3 times effective building, producing these Horsemen every 7 seconds, they can actually afford it because of the extra 20% drop-off they're going to get, which is going to last a long time because that mill isn't only allowing the drop-offs to the deer, but after the deer are done, he also has all the sheep stacked there so the Imperial official never needs to move.
Just for the record, Beastyqt was going for the stable, so didn't build his second town center. Spearman now going for some aggression. Horseman trying to scare those away. Still no spearmen on the field. So VortiX needs to retreat in the safety, or towards the safety of the tower.
Yeah, so VortiX, he did get his tower down, but it's like... Beasty's just shrugging. He's like, you can have that. That's 1 tower. You need 3 more. And this is why VortiX is going to try and establish one on the other side. I think was he expecting like a quick chop through? In theory, he could chop through that wood line and he might be able to make a shortcut, but it's not going to help when there's walls already on the south side. And like we already highlighted, unless you build more outposts, you don't want to move down here. Because now that your opponent's built horsemen, he'll just wrap around on you and kill you off.
Siege engineers now coming in. Still only longbows. Second town center now. So better economy for the Chinese player pretty soon. VortiX, when does he need to add spearmen here? Because longbowmen alone won't cut the chase in the long run.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised it hasn't come out just yet. Oh no, the horsemen! They went for the base. So he's going to deny the stone. Not too much damage done. That could have been a lot worse if he didn't have longbows at home. But now you see the issue. Like, he has to now go for the spearmen because he has no way of joining these 2 forces anymore.
Let's see about that one. I think all those could fit into the second tower if the second tower was finishing. Look at that. And gets the first kill. VortiX without a single lost unit this game, I believe.
Yeah, so far it's looking good. Second outpost in. He now has to wiggle his way around the TC to the south. The bad news for him is like he's not going to snipe villagers straight away because the TC's the north. But this is maybe a mistake from Beasty. If he had his TC down here, this outpost wouldn't go up. But VortiX he's slivered his way in. I have to give credit to it. It's really crafty the way he's now going to wrap in, despite how ungenerous this map was to early feudal aggression.
Let's take a look. There will be some losses though. Needs to get closer to the tower. 2 down, make it 3 down. Okay, some losses, but trade off against some HP on those horsemen.
So Beasty's trying to deny the critical mass. VortiX needs about 20 longbows and 2 rams to break the base now. So he's not going to allow more of them through. And this is the awkward issue. Does VortiX now peel back his longbows to deal with this and then get exposed in the midfield without attack speed? Or does he just allow this to exist and hope that he's got enough longbows to support siege? Right now, the choice
longbows, villagers, town center. I think he has enough to defend here quite easily. Look at that. He loses 2 longbows, but it's fine. He's totally fine. Killed 2 horsemen in exchange.
But that's the thing. Like, Beasty doesn't want... Like, this is just superficial damage. The most important detail for him is that the longbows can't get to the front. So I think VortiX, like, he needs to now get enough critical mass of longbows and a few spearmen to just move out into the naked no man land, right? Because he doesn't see anything. And my God, these villages are drying up quick. He needs to move out soon.
Like China. Very realistic game here. Now needs to move over to the berries. Probably should send an Imperial Fisher with that. Obviously tough to scout for VortiX. Keeps the scout here in the center. Wants to have the vision with the wood lines. Where is Beastyqt getting wood now?
He should
getting
just
any
be
wood?
extracting the Barbican. That's all he can do. Because, like, notice that this outpost, because it was set at the center, it doesn't guard the north side. So Beastyqt still has half a tree line before he's exposed, which should be enough to cover him because he's going for Castle Age and he's almost there. Now, VortiX, I think
Is it
does he need
Palace
Castle?
Guards?
I think it is Palace Guards. Like, Palace Guards make a lot of sense here. So there you go, building up Astronomical Clock Tower. This is also awkward for VortiX because an Astronomical Clock Tower counts as your battleground. One Spear will just ruin this now. It's a frustrating state of the game. Like, England's win condition up against the Chinese is to not allow them to crack Castle. Because you just can't easily combat their siege, especially with their ability to supervise a normal siege workshop.
Are the Rams too late, maybe?
It feels a little bit, doesn't it? I mean, he's burning
Now
houses.
going for the houses instead of the town center.
He's making the Chinese people homeless. I don't think they care, though.
They can build themselves a new village.
I mean, to be honest, why do these people need houses? Whenever you ever see them take breaks, they're always gathering. Unless they're my villages, in which case they're very idle. But pro players, like, they're never idle. So they never have time to go home and, like, kiss their family in the forehead. So houses are irrelevant.
In China, they're all playing AoE Online. Came out last week. Most
that's true, so-
downloaded game on mobile last week.
Ah, I see. Now that
AoE
makes
Online.
sense. So if we were to get a zoom in on one of those crumbling houses, we'd see a bunch of people on PCs playing Age of Empires Online.
Mobiles. Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
sorry. Yeah, on their phones. Yeah,
Playing on their-
they're just in the rubble on the toilet playing AoE Online. Got it. Makes sense. Now, you can't
Okay,
see them
Horsemen
now.
now
When you
coming
look at
out.
them, they're not there. They go and hide.
Nest of Bees will be produced over the Springald. How much damage do Nest of Bees do against Mangonels?
It's raw damage,
Against Ram.
right? So, like, it's decent. It's 10 in the burst. So, like, in theory, like, what, 40 damage per salvo? You should see it now. Like, 3 Rams. This is a heavy investment. VortiX, he needs to end the game soon. But the Nest of Bees doesn't go for the Rams. It's go for the Lombos. The Lombos into the staggered formation will not make it easy. It's
Why are we
not easy
taking
to
this
kill
fight?
Nest of Bees.
Just chill back.
Lancers
Now
come out.
some Lances popping as well. I think spreading the Rams could make some sense. Look at that. Microing now. Feels like the starting town center will go down for Beastyqt.
Yeah, but he doesn't care. He's got the second TC. He's still booming better. Like, his eco is stronger than VortiX's. And he's starting to get Lancers. The biggest mistake that BC could do is jump at the gun. But no! He reveals his hand too quick. He hasn't made a military transition. This forward racks play from VortiX might be the deal breaker that wins in the game.
Let's take a look. Now
this-
goes for the stable. Still Rams. And what are we going for? We're going for feudal men-at-arms? That feels like
Interesting.
such a weird unit. Especially if you see all the stables. You kind of want to go for spearmen, no?
I think he's like... The extra armor doesn't matter as well, right? Because, like, the siege will still do a lot of damage. So, yeah, the Nest of Bees is still an unanswered problem right now. But VortiX, like, he has a potential win. He's now going onto the Imperial Academy. Space Grenade will turn around to burn them down now. Even sends out a few villagers. So, it looks like he's buffering them away. And he does see the forward racks here. Beastyqt, remember what we talked about Altai before? One of the biggest limiting factors, the sixth resource after PopCat being the fifth. It's space. And Beastyqt lacks space to build up infrastructure, to build up farms, to build up anything right now. Or to even gather anything, as he's more or less stripped most of the wood that he can access to begin with.
I think we just saw 4 or 5 villagers going down, trying to chase down those Rams. A bit sloppy on Beastyqt's end. And those farmers, those berries will run out soon. What's Beastyqt's next food source?
Is it boar time? It might be. That's far away,
There's
though.
there's nothing in that direction. That's
There's a
so
boar in the
far away
center.
and so risky.
Yeah, the boar in the
Yeah,
center
but
is probably his best
still.
choice. Like, you can't move south now because of the
Whoa.
way that VortiX set this up. It's actually perfect. More buildings going down.
Yep. For everyone who's getting nervous, we are far away from the landmark victory. It's still the Barbican, it's still the Clockwork Tower, and the Imperial Academy. So yeah, we are finding some kills, but still,
I love how
3 buildings to go.
I love how efficient BC's there. He's like, well, if the mine camp's going down, I better collect taxes. It's like, you may die, right? Death and taxes, the guaranteed things, they come together, it seems, as he makes sure he doesn't miss a beat there. And he's on straggler trees. Wow.
He should have no food income now. Beastyqt. Is he maybe going
He's
for farms?
shifting. I think he's prepping for some farms at the back. Like, that would be the safe choice. He still has the berries for the moment, but they are drying up quick. Also, he's not supervising it, right? I think he stopped supervising the mill. Or did I, like, just blank that?
Mill at the front. That makes lots of sense. VortiX, is that still full feudal age? He's not advancing to castle. Goes for more men-at-arms. Has 3 rams. Nice farming setup here.
Beasty's putting on his best banking outfit right now. Like, he's supervising gold, but he's not supervising food, despite the fact he needs it more. So, a little bit of an awkward situation. And yeah, it looks like VortiX is getting away scot-free with the boom into farms. And I wouldn't be surprised if he considers going up the castle soon. Like, he can start saving for it. A lot of pressure's coming out, and he will need that as a solution to what Beasty's building up. As you can see, he's getting the Palace Guard, he's getting the Lancers, he's going to have a healthy composition supported by Siege, and right now, VortiX doesn't have the same option.
VortiX army is just designed to lose to Nest of Bees.
Uh-huh.
Like,
and that's
he's
why.
continuing to do that.
But that's why Beasty doesn't hang around, right? He's like, oh, I don't need to protect the Nest of Bees. He only has longbows. So he rides in. He denies equity. VortiX not able to gather from the farmland expansion. Greedy boy going to the fort of his base. At least the peasantry will be able to scare him away. But now coming in with the Rams, moving in towards the Barbican. But the Nest of Bees factor is still there. Man-at-arms, there are a lot of them. Not many Palace Guard here. The repair crew can keep the Nest of Bees alive. They're going to need to. Heavy splash damage done. Heavy hits on the first wave of Man-at-arms, but they're chasing in. Need to be on point with the repairs. Beasty trying to keep them alive. The torches get tossed on 2 of the 3 of the Nest of Bees. And the Nest of Bees now need to get rid of the Longbows before the Longbows get rid of the villagers. And the Rams, not sure what they're doing here.
2 Nest of Bees still alive. Well, they are going to die now, but I don't think that was enough here. It feels like Beastyqt with the Barbican maybe make the hold. No, down to 9 military against 38.
The Nest of Bees, one to save them all. Can it do the business, though? Longbows being forced away. Villagers sacrificing their lives to keep it alive. Beastyqt still somehow with the eco lead, but now it changes hands. And the Nest of Bees goes down. Heavy hits there. Barbican Sun on fire. And after that, everything is looking down from here. The man-at-arms are too much. GG will get called. VortiX is looking to make a clean sweep. Now 1 game away from booting Beasty down to that lower bracket.
English feudal age all in with feudal men-at-arms against an English player that had a Barbican and 3 Nest of Bees, plus Palace Guards, plus Lancers. And VortiX is still able to break him.
What a play. And VortiX didn't have an easy game here. Like, Beastyqt had the world in the palm of his hands. That generation looked really good for him. I love the way he identified with the Barbican Sun, and I love the way, like, he condensed his TC originally. But then, to give some love the other side, can't forget our lovely Spaniard VortiX, he understood this, and he actually exploited that. This build that he done works because Beastyqt was this greedy. The issue with Altai is the limited resources and the need to spread out quickly. The strategy that Beastyqt is employing works if you can maintain midfield control around the 15-minute mark. If you're unable to do so, multi-TC backfires fast, and that's what makes VortiX's strategy so phenomenal. He identified this. He somehow wiggled his way in with the outpost into Beasty's base,